You're listening to One Family, What's God Doing? Where we explore what God's doing in YWAM locations throughout Virginia. We can't wait for you to find out what God's doing today.
Welcome back to What's God Doing, and we've got a special episode. We're trying to highlight some of the ministries that are happening in YWAM throughout Virginia, and what you see behind me is Potter's Pantry. Now, Potter's Pantry is one of the longest running ministries out of YWAM Richmond, and also one of the ones that has some of the clearest and deepest impact. Basically, what you see going on is a whole lot of food. We partner with Feed More and local grocery stores to get food that can then get out to families who may have limited access to food. The reality is that many of our neighbors live in what's called a food desert. They have limited access to grocery stores that are within a close distance, particularly if they have limited transportation. And so for a lot of families, there may be significant food insufficiency. And what Potter's Pantry does is create a way for those families to be able to get boxes filled with food. We're talking meat, we're talking bread, we're talking desserts, we're talking all kinds of things. In fact, in a given month, between families in the community and YWAM families, I want to say close to 400 individuals served and 216 households. And so what that means is that food is getting into homes, into mouths, but it's actually more than that. Because if this was just a food ministry, then it would just be about food. But what YWAM knows is that there is more going in that box than just bread and meat. In fact, we believe that it's a way for God to show his love to us and to others, God to show his provision, to show his creativity. Before we started recording, we were talking about how God and his creativity made all the food so colorful. It could have been gray and bland, but you got red, you got yellow. I mean, you can see behind me lots of different colors because God is demonstrating himself. And what we believe is that every time a family comes and receives a food box, they're not just receiving physical, practical provision, but they are actually receiving God's love. In fact, that's one of the things that we pray, that when a family comes, they don't just get food, but they experience God's love for them. They experience God's presence in their home. And so we want to encourage you to be praying for Potter's Pantry. Like I said, this has been going on for a long time. We think somewhere around 20 years that we have consistently every week, sometimes 3 times a week, providing food for the community. It takes a lot of work. You could see it happening behind me. We have to go each of these mornings and gather the food from different places, then organize the food, get it all situated, then prepare separate boxes for each of the family that might come through that day. And then YWAM staff are actually able to come through as well, be provided for. So a whole lot of work, hours of work goes in to each of these moments. But there have been amazing stories of times that a family has come up and been blessed, not just by the provision, but by the love that's shown by the staff that are interacting. There's a lot of times that staff will pray with someone who's come up to receive a food box. And so Potter's Pantry is one of my favorite things that YWAM Richmond is doing. There's been many times that I've been able to be a part of it, and it's always encouraging to see how God can use these practical ways. I mean, the food is out there, these practical ways to get this food and get it out to families that might not be able to get it otherwise. And so what can you do? Well, if you like to pray, then pray for this ministry, pray for more volunteers, pray for things to go smoothly, pray that the food would continue to be provided. We also invite you to pray for neighbors, neighbors that might not know about this yet, or neighbors that do, but maybe limited in some ways, that they would not be hindered from receiving not just provision, but this conduit of God's love. You can practically come and volunteer and serve. Just reach out. We can tell you how. And, you know, one of the things that I love is, I want to bring up the verse, Proverbs 3:5-6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your understanding. In all your ways, submit to him and he will set your path straight. There are a lot of families that right now in their own understanding may not know how their next meal is going to be met. And what they don't know is God has provided a team of people to gather food, to call them up, to say, would you like a box this month, and to provide it. And so our human understanding can make us feel like there might not be hope, but the reality is God may be working through people to provide the means and to provide the hope. And so, be praying for Potter's Pantry, be praying for the team, be praying for the families, and get excited because amazing things are happening every other day of the week in this space, and will continue to happen because we believe that this is one of the ways that God has called YWAM Richmond to serve. So thank you for praying for Potter's Pantry, and thank you for listening, and not just for listening, but for journeying with us as we together as one family learn what it means to know God and make him known.
If you'd like to learn more about what God's doing in Virginia, visit us at ywamva.org and join us next week for more stories of God at work.